welcome to the Work Knits channel and my little space on the internet. I would call this an ad hoc or a bonus episode, but I am feeling increasingly like this channel may expand beyond the kind of regular podcast episodes. Those will still be a staple and a backbone of this space, but I have so much content that I want to share with you all. I'm feeling very inspired with things that I might think might be of interest or that might be useful to you. So I'm going to start breaking up my channel page with different playlists relating to the main podcast series, but then also content that is either about kind of my future plans and inspiration and getting all of your input on where I go with certain projects and ideas, or also spaces and playlists that are more focused on either kind of tips, tricks that I found helpful and useful that I can share with you all. And then finally, I'm also thinking of creating a series of videos that are all about kind of more sustainable fashion, slow fashion as a broader concept, and not just purely knitting, although knitting will feature quite heavily in that. So that's a little bit of an idea of where I think I might be taking this channel. It's developing rapidly, and as I said in my very first podcast episode, my very first video on this channel, I was just really excited to see where it would go and how it would grow, and I've had no set kind of trajectory or plan in mind. I'm just kind of going with where inspiration and all of you take me with your questions and input. So thank you so much for being a subscriber if you are a subscriber of this channel, and a returning viewer. If you are new to this channel, this video may be of interest, may be a great starting point. Alternatively, you may want to hop on over to one of my podcast episodes. There are 3 up at the moment, and those might give you a little bit more background about me and what I am doing in the knitting space. So without further ado, as the title of this episode might suggest, I thought I'd share with you some of the yarn in my stash. I'm not sharing my entire stash. My stash is, I mean, any word to describe the size of your stash is probably subjective, but I'd say the quantity of yarn I have is not enormous. You get some of these YouTubers who've got these incredible stashes that, you know, create an entire wall behind them. That is definitely not the case for me. I have 2 small shelves in a kind of IKEA cabinet, and I also have a pegboard where I put any kind of cakes of yarn that I've used bits of, but kind of there's still a decent quantity left. I kind of shove those up on a pegboard, and it's a bit of kind of live art per se, but also very functional. But today I thought I'd share with you some either special skeins or some skeins that I've got not an entire skein left, but I'd really like to do something substantial with the yarn, and I'm really keen to get all of your ideas. I have a couple, but just really keen to use this as an opportunity to get feedback from all of you. I had some amazing ideas off the back of my long-term whips video for what I could do with some of those. I also had some great feedback on what I might be able to do if I didn't want to continue with that project, what I could use the yarn for. So yes, very excited to use the collective brain to try and get some ideas for what to use these bits of stash for. So let's jump in. I have not got tea or coffee today. I hope you've got something nice to enjoy. And just very quickly, before I pick up any yarn, in case you're wondering, this is my no-frill sweater. You can't quite see what I've paired it with, but I've paired it with a pair of second-hand Lee mum jeans that I think are from like the 1970s. I picked them up in a charity shop. So very comfy, very warm, and this sweater is the perfect weight for me today. It is knit up in Jameson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight. It was bought on a cone, and I have paired it with Rowan Kid Silk mohair in a light grey shade, and that really took the kind of bright edge off the pink and made it much more kind of dusky and, as you can see, quite mild. Right, yarn. Okay, as you can see, selection here. Picked one at random. Let's just dive in. So first yarn up for debate is, I'm shadowing my face here, Rauwerk, and this is their sport base. It's 100% merino from a single flock in Munich. It's woolen spun. The skeins are about 100 grams, and they recommend a needle size of 2.75 to 4mm, so quite varied. In case you haven't come across Rauwerk before, I hope I'm pronouncing their brand name correctly. They are a eco-friendly and ethical yarn brand from a small flock, as I mentioned, based in Germany, in Munich specifically. And on each of their skeins, it tells you when they sheared the sheep and when it was spun and where. And yeah, I really like that. I like that you kind of get that in-depth feeling on the kind of small business mentality and putting animals at the heart of what they do. So this particular skein was sheared in Munich in 2017/2018, and it was spun in Chiemgau area of Bavaria, if I'm pronouncing again that area name correctly, in autumn 2018. So I have 2 skeins of this. I think I only brought the one with me. I did. I got 2 skeins of this. As I said, sport weight. And at the time it was bought for me one Christmas as a treat, alongside my one and only skein of spin cycle yarn. So this is dyed in the wool. Spin cycle, I doubt I need to give a full introduction on spin cycle, but it's just beautiful yarn. It's real treat yarn. Their dyed in the wool base is sport weight. This colourway is absolute zero. For those of you who've looked into buying it before or kind of familiar with it, the spin cycle yarns within their colourways, they can vary quite a lot from batch to batch. That's part of the beauty, that's not a complaint. And this particular colourway, absolute zero, is normally quite pink, and my particular one has come up particularly purple, but I still love it. And as I say, this was bought for me as a treat with 2 skeins of Rawak yarn, and my initial thinking was to do like a yoked sweater from Andrea Mowry, who is obviously famous for using spin cycle as colour gradiating yarn in her sweater designs, and that maybe I'd just make the sleeves quite cropped, given I've only got 2 skeins of the Rawak. But I don't know. I'm like, don't I? So comment below, A, whether or not I should go ahead with an Andrea Mowry design, and if so, which one. But I'm also very open to using them together in another project if you have ideas, or separately. I think the particularly the spin cycle, there's lots of projects out there using spin cycle, super beautiful, and yeah, would love to hear about those. Okay, so that's 2 of them. Right, gonna have to find a place to like put this yarn as we're looking at it, but let's dive to worsted weight. So, and there we go. So this is Durerum Natura in their Gilead base. Durerum Natura is a French brand. Their labels are mainly in French, which I love. My French is probably not up to scratch to be able to fully translate this for you. But yeah, beautiful French yarn. The Gilead base is their worsted weight base. It's 100% wool, and you get 250 meters for 100 grams. So pretty good yardage. These are pretty kind of hefty balls. And they recommend 4 to 5 millimeter. This is the shade Caramel, which is beautiful. One of my colours, and this is the shade Foray. This is left over from my Market Day shawl that is a pattern that I have released in this yarn. So I think approximately I've got like 30 to 40 grams left here, whereas I've got the full cake or ball left here. So ideas please, do I use them together? Do I use them separately? Do I try and save up to get another ball of this, but in like maybe they're like salt and pepper, which is their Poivre Isel base, and maybe do like a 3 colorway, so that's like a stone color with these 2 as accent colors. What does everyone think? But yes, in my stash, 1 ball of this, and this is left over of another ball. Okay, what next? Well, I've been working a lot with it, so maybe let's jump to this. I have a tiny bit more of this. I couldn't find it ahead of this video. I have got a dark navy inky blue colour in this as well. This is the Knitting for Olive double soft merino, which, and I keep saying this in basically every video, but I think they have stopped making this, which is really, really sad, because this is a really interesting kind of blown, don't know how best to show it, maybe there. It's a blown construction with a cotton core, and let's give you the exact details. 100% merino, traceable, non-mulesed. It's 110 meters per 50 grams. This is a 50-gram ball. They recommend 4.5mm needles, and this one is dusky petroleum blue. I think this is rose, and then I had it in a kind of dark, like cherry berry colour, which I matched with this to make a couple of hats that I have shown on this channel. But yes, this is what I've got left, and as I said, I've got like an inky blue ball as well. Thoughts? What do I do? I would say a hat, but I've already got a couple of hats in this, so I'm wondering whether maybe a cowl. I'd originally knit the blue, into a cowl with like an eyelet design, but I think it didn't really make the most of the properties of this yarn. It creates quite, or can create, depends how you knit it, but when I created the cowl, it was quite a thick textured fabric, and I just didn't think that kind of worked right around the neck. There wasn't enough drape. It's got quite a good structure to it when you knit it up. It's almost got that feeling of like felt. It hasn't felted, but it feels like that thickness when you do colour work with it, for example. So yeah, just not sure. Maybe something like striped, maybe a scarf rather than a cowl, and maybe then the way that the stitches are, yeah, maybe that construction would flow better. I don't know. Thoughts, please? Okay, we've done a decent quantity already, but as you can see, still more to go. So where should we dive in next? Okay, on the topic of worsted, let's stick with worsted. You may have seen in episode 3 of my podcast, I mentioned I had purchased some of Kate Davies designs. That label is upside down, there we go. Ed Tier, if I'm pronouncing that right, or Ard Tier. This is a worsted weight, 60% Highland wool, 40% alpaca yarn with, and the skein is 50 grams, which is 65 meters. So really quite heavy and dense yarn. Lots of fibre in, per meter. And this is this colourway, and I'm going to probably butcher this, but it's the colourway Camus Darak. Which is a beautiful kind of grey, and you can kind of, I don't know if the camera's going to pick up, but there's kind of like woolly, fibrey bits. I don't think it's going to pick it up. You can just about see up here. It's got like a halo of like kind of natural fibres. They're ever so slightly toothy, but they're not scratchy. So I bought 4 skeins of this. I also bought 4 skeins in another colourway, which I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's this like gorgeous chestnut brown, and I have already got plans, and I've got something in progress with that, but really keen to hear what you think I should do with my 200 grams of this. And if anyone is interested in getting hold of some of this, because I know for a while the yarn wasn't available in that many yarn shops, Black Sheep Wool, the website, had it online on sale. I haven't checked before doing this video as to whether they've still got it, but I should imagine they do. So yes. Okay. We're rattling through this. Sorry if I'm a little bit all over the place and a bit bouncy. I've had a 3rd coffee this morning, which is not normal for me, but it's just one of those Mondays. And I'm also recording this in my lunch break as a bit of a treat to myself around quite a busy day of work, so I'm just very excited to be here and yeah, jacked up on a lot of caffeine. Where should we go next? Let's go to fluffies, keeping a kind of theme of worsted weight-ish. Okay, so the first thing I was going to share with you is Bostet Alpaca. This is by Sadness Garn. And this is, they haven't got a colourway name on this, although I'm sure on a website they will have it, but this is colour number 2650, and they recommend 5 to 7mm needles, and this is made up of 96% brushed alpaca, 4% nylon, produced in Norway by Sadness Garn, and 50 grams equals approximately 110 meters, and this is 50 grams. So I bought 2 of these, and I used some of one of these in, I think it's somewhere in this room, potentially even in my Stephen West modular inlay wrap, or my modular wrap, I can't remember what you called it. And I loved it, and it's really beautifully, but it's quite thick. So I'm wondering, maybe as colour work. I don't know if anyone's produced a colour work design pattern where the colour work is worsted weight brushed alpaca. I don't know. Anyone know of one? I think all the Andrew Murray ones are normally like sport weights or DK, and then she holds like 2 strands of it together, whereas like this is probably still a bit too thick for that. Like there's chunks that are really quite thick. So any thoughts? I need to stop repeating that because that is just the name of the game of this video, so read that in at the end of every pause. Next in my stash is Biche and Bouche Le Gros Silk Mohair. This is 28% silk and 72% kid mohair from beautiful Italy, that's what the band says. A delightful natural quality, very soft and squishy and not too hairy, in our own colours for your dreamy knitting projects. With love from Astrid, Caroline and Louise. And this is colour black/noir. And they recommended needles for this, they say 4.5 to 5.5mm. So yeah, oh, and finally yardage 50 grams is 148 metres. So really squishy. I really wanted to try a thicker mohair because I hadn't tried before. Let me try and show you thickness, there we go. And I actually used some of this alongside Farmer's. I always get Daughter of a Shepherd and Farmer's Daughter's Fibres mixed up, but it's one of those two, the British one. Their Ram Jam worsted I used alongside a little bit of this in my City Cow design, and absolutely love knitting with it. It's just that the way I designed that, it only called for a small amount. So I've got the majority of this left. I'd probably say I've probably got at least 40 grams, if not more. Right, where are we up to? Okay, also on the talk of thick and fluffy yarn, look at the bits coming off this. Ah! Okay, this is Surimana, and it's by Tant Holder, which is a yarn shop in Lund in Sweden. If you watched the first episode of my podcast, you would have seen I picked this up after our trip to Copenhagen and Sweden in January. This is 74% soy alpaca, 22% merino and 4% polyamide, and it is made by Tant Holder themselves. This little skein is 50 grams and 130 metres, and they recommend 5mm needles. So another just like thicker Suri alpaca base, a bit like the one that I showed from Sunday's Garn, but you can see the Sunday's Garn one has got a kind of warmth and a brown to it, whereas the one from Tant Holder is definitely a grey. I love both of them. Don't really know what I wanted to do, but I just knew I didn't want to pass up this kind of beautifully textured, super fluffy, thicker Suri alpaca. But this was a bit of a guilty purchase because I didn't have an intention for it at the time. Okay, we're going at a good pace here. We're getting to a decent quantity. I'm going to keep sticking with the fluffies, although it's going to go a bit rogue in a moment. You'll see why. Also on Suri alpaca talk, this is the Suri alpaca base from Triskelion Yarns, which I believe is a Welsh yarn company. I pulled this up because actually I don't think I showed it in my, it's right here, so I'm going to take this opportunity to show it. This is cheeky because this is only semi-stash related. Okay, so when I did my long-term whips video, this ended up underneath my seat, and so I kind of forgot to show it. I knit a cow, and the outside is knit in a DK weight alpaca merino blend from an Italian commercial yarn brand, and I can't remember what that is. And then the grey, and that's the orange, and then the grey is actually a local yarn producer to me in the southwest of England. They are a small farm, and they've got a selection of merino goats and another type, and they've got a type of sheep that I can't remember what the breed is. Anyway, they make their own kind of DK weight yarn. That's what the grey is. It's quite toothy. So I wanted to create an inside that was super soft. So I knit an inside for the tube out of this Surrey alpaca by Triskelion Yarns, but I have bound off too tightly, which means that whoever receives this won't be able to get it over their head. So I need to decide. I think I'll probably undo the bind off, loosen it off, and then finish this and actually have it as a finished cowl. But the other option is I do rip out the Surrey and use the Surrey for something else. Oops, and now I've dropped it on the floor. But yes, that's an option. So I think I probably used about 25 grams here. Let's assume I've got, ducking down to get my ball, let's assume I've got 25 grams here just to go on the safe side. But yes, that's a little bit of a long-term work in progress, crossing over with stash there. Oh, so much hair. Sorry everybody. Right. Right, I've got another cake of mohair somewhere, but I couldn't find it, and I think I have plans for that one, whereas this one I don't. This was also picked up during our trip to Copenhagen and Sweden, so you may have seen it in episode 1. This is Shulana in colour 120. This is 25 gram little cake, and they recommend 3.5 to 4.5 millimeter needles, and it's 70% mohair, 30% silk, and it's a beautiful, I don't know if it's quite coming right on camera. That's probably correct as a contrast to my sweater. It's kind of a real cranberry, and it's got this, the silk core is slightly lighter, so it's got a real like zing to it. So yeah, if you see anything else in my stash that we're going through that you think I could pair this with, or anything that you think I could kind of work towards purchasing to go with this, very happy to, or even anything that would just use this on its own. Anyone got any one ball mohair projects they know of? Okay, this is the bit of the rogue one. So again, if you watched some of my other videos, including my all the sweaters I have ever knit, you will have seen a goldy coloured slip over that I knit towards the end of last year. And what I actually failed to mention in that video was that I had originally knit that yarn into the balloon cardigan by Petite Knit, which there are photos of on my Instagram. And I even showed the like, this is what it was, this is what it now is. And I just completely forgot when recording that video. So that one item actually represents 2 whole garments worth of knitting. But essentially, just as background, I knit the balloon sweater, balloon cardigan, and the way that Petite Knit has knit it, like the gauge she's got and the kind of fabric based on the kind of plumpness of the yarn she used, hers looks beautiful and really drapey. Mine was a slightly tighter gauge, and just the way the yarn shaped up, it wasn't very drapey. It was quite static, and it just didn't flatter my figure at all. And this is one of those projects where you have to kind of go, it didn't work. It should have, in theory, it's a raglan shaped cardigan, but I think just, yeah, multiple factors that just didn't quite work for me. So I frogged it and I knit the slip over, but then I have this left over. So these balls are a strand of gepard yarn in their gold mohair, held together with, it's not going to work, is it better? Here we go. Held together with Isaiah Highland wool, which is 100% Highland wool, in their curry base. So I haven't weighed this. Maybe I should, and I'll try and put it on screen. But I have some of this. Again, thoughts. I really hope this is of interest at this point. We're kind of going through at a rate of knots, and I'm kind of just showing you yarn. So feel free to pause, have a think, and then play a game when you're ready to move on, rather than gallivanting through this with me. I'm going to, what am I going to move to? Let's move briefly to sock yarn, because I haven't got masses of that to show you. Okay, again, podcast episode 1, you will have seen I got some Ficalana Arwetta during my trip to Copenhagen. I have got 2 skeins or 2 cakes ball things of each of these. So this is colour 361, Ficalana Arwetta, 80% superwash, 20% nylon. It's a sock yarn, recommending 2.5 to 3mm needles. And each skein is 50 grams, and this is same details apart from this is colour 145. And the reason they look so different is Ficalana have changed their branding and their ball bands. So I got 2 of these, so 100 grams of pink, 100 grams of blue. I was thinking of knitting at least one pair of colour pairing to make some more of my time to decompress socks. I think I'm going to be gifting my original pair to my future mother-in-law, so I'm thinking of making myself a pair, but that still leaves another set left over. Do I want to make like an almost like time to decompress cowl, or like a time to decompress hat? I don't know. I could make my commuter hat, a copy of that. Lots of options, and probably more from other designers, so I'm going to be intrigued what I do with these, but I do really love my pink blue colour pairing at the moment. Okay, also on the sock talk, but kind of transitioning into other. So I've actually got 2 skeins of this. Again, this didn't make it into my long-term whips video, but I do have a shawl, an asymmetric shawl with an applied I-cord edging as you go, a knit-on I-cord edging on my needles, and I don't like the way it's turning out, so that's going to be frogged. So I technically have 2 balls of this, if not maybe even 3. No, I think I've got 2. This is Superba Alpaca Luxury Socks by Rico Designs. It is a 4-ply sock yarn. This is the colourway Silver, and it's 100 grams, which is 310 metres, 62% virgin wool, 23% polyamide and 15% alpaca. And they recommend 2.5 to 3.5mm needles. It's quite thick and plump sock yarn. I'm thinking of holding it, or knitting it, with, I have got 8 balls of Sadness Garn Tresco, which is a 80% Norwegian wool, 20% nylon. They say it's a fingering weight. It's a very thick fingering weight, very plump. I'm thinking this might become an Andrea Mari sweater, because this would be so gorgeous as colour work. And the 2 shades of grey go quite nicely together. They're both on the cooler spectrum, so I think that's what those might become. If I need to break into the skein of this that is already knit and haven't yet frogged, I will, but there's another cake of this or ball of this left over. So any other project ideas, or indeed, as I mentioned earlier with the row work and the spin cycle, any ideas for which particular Andrea Mari pattern? Has anyone loved one in particular? Really interested to hear. I also haven't got a sweater in greys anywhere in my wardrobe, so I think, actually I'm telling a massive lie. I do. I've knit my bright sweater, or my brighter sweater, by Junko Okamoto. I haven't got anything in dark grey. That's a fact. I haven't got anything in dark grey, she says, checking her parlour sweaters just to make sure. I'm going to stick on the fingering weight-ish area. From my recent Medina top project, I have got 2 balls, this one and the mustard version of Ficalana Saga base. This one's in colourway 121. I can't remember off the top of my head what the mustard colourway is. And this is 100% lamb's wool from Ficalana, fingering weight. I need to weigh this, but I reckon I probably got about 30 to 40 grams of it, if not a bit more. If not even maybe 45 grams. So thoughts, maybe I could do a colour work project with this and the mustard together. Maybe I separate them. Maybe I do like this with, I'm going to make all my balls of yarn fall on the floor. Maybe like this with the row work. I could put a mohair with this, maybe even, oh look guys, plans are coming together. Maybe like this. So then these 2 equal with sport. Oh, this is making me excited. That's a possibility. And then the other thing I have, fingering weight, and this is a one-off ball, is Sadness Garn Sunday. Not the petite knit one, their standard one, in colour 4343. And this is a 50 gram ball of 100% Norwegian wool. and it's a really fine fingering weight and it's beautiful. I don't know what the colour, oh yeah, I did say the colourway. It's kind of like a dusky rose. It's coming up a bit kind of, I don't even know what the word is. That's probably better. There we go. That's a good reflection. So just the one ball of this, wondering if this would make a good gift knit for someone, or if I was wanting to be selfish and keep it for me. Do I want to make some like fingerless mittens or proper mittens? Would it go far enough? I think it might. So that could be quite intriguing, and again I could do some like colour work with a mohair, or yeah, we'll see. Right, I'm going to leave that over there. We're getting quite a nice divide now with what's left between hand dyed and more commercially dyed. So it's going to be tricky to hold. I have got 4 balls of Knitting for Olive merino, that's their finer merino, and I've got it in the colourway pearl grey, dark ochre, mustard, and autumn. Now these kind of look good together on camera, although I must say I think the autumn one is kind of the odd one out because it doesn't quite go with, I don't like this pairing here. I don't mind that pairing, but I don't quite like it with this, but I do love those 3 together. Or take the yellows out and do the orange with the grey, that looks really pretty. So yes, these were kind of, again, these were a treat purchase from a family member for my birthday. And I don't want to jump into knitting them until I have like a really nice plan. I have gone through some of the Knitting for Olive patterns and just none of them are quite calling to me at the moment. That being said, I could have missed one. I think I might be looking more at the t-shirts and sweaters. So if there's an accessory that you think might work, yeah. I really do love this grey though. It's got this really beautiful darker speckles, but it's mainly light. It's, the best way I can describe it is like stone. It's got a real coolness to it that then really makes the warmth of the orange really zing, or the mustard, or the dark ochre. Those would look, I mean, I don't know if I've got enough to knit that into like a kind of summer top. That'd be quite a nice idea, if I've got enough for that. Okay, I've picked up the wrong 2 together. Classic. Okay, I've got a ball of Hjert garn, which is their organic 350 wool cotton blend, 5% organic merino, 45% organic cotton, in the shade 4005. They recommend 3 to 3.5mm needles, and this is, I believe, a 50-gram cake. Yeah, which is 350 metres. And I've also got their yellow colour, which I think this is also a 50-gram ball. That has been knit into multiple things and unknit, mainly because this is the same yarn I used to make my Chauncey top, which is an adapted version of the Chauncey sweater by Isabel Kramer. And it really felted under my arms, which I didn't like. But maybe this could be like a really nice lightweight shawl, or maybe this could be a summer top but just not have fitted under the arms. Maybe it needs to hang looser. Maybe I make this into kind of something more like tabard style, quite open. Thoughts? And from the same brand, I believe, yeah, same brand, I've got their organic trio base, which is 50% organic merino, 25% cotton and 25% silk, is DK weight, colour 50114, and 50 grams is 230 metres. I've got 3 of these, and is it called the hard cider sweater? And I'm not going to know the design off the top of my head, but it's in my Ravelry queue. And I did start knitting it. It's top down, it's got like a funnel neck, and then it's got it's raglan, it's got lace design towards the bottom. And I think I was going to, the original sample was knit in wool, but I think I was going to modify it into a cotton blend. Okay, we're almost getting there. Quick time check. Yeah, we're just about okay. Right. Next up is a one-off skein. If you've watched my Everything I've Knit videos, and particularly the accessories one, you will have seen a massive asymmetric shawl that goes from like a plum colour through to like a more cool purple variegated through to a white, like natural undyed skein. I bought this at the same time, and the idea was to really push myself out of my comfort zone colours wise, and to knit up something in a colour, like a range of shades I would not normally gravitate towards. However, when I got this home, it just really didn't grab me. Now I'm looking at it on camera and it actually goes quite nicely with my complexion, goes quite nicely with the kind of natural hair colours coming through at my roots, and also with the blonde. But it's got this like slight lilac to it, which just isn't my jam and that I didn't really pick up on in the shop. The shop I'm talking about is Peak District Yarns, which is unique hand-dyed yarns inspired by the landscape of the Peak District, and it's all dyed locally. This is a 4-ply high twist, 20% merino, 20% nylon, 100 grams, 365 meters in the colour wheel Dusk. So yes, beautiful yarn, but wasn't sure what to make of it. One option is I do take that shawl apart, as I discussed in my other video, and in doing so I could combine this with the cooler purple tones that I wasn't as keen on, and maybe this will like balance that all out, and then maybe I'll end up with a product I like more. And then the plum colour, which I absolutely love and I've still got a little bit left, I could also make something that maybe speaks to me a little bit more. Don't know, but it's super bouncy. I don't really want to use it for socks. Okay, speaking of projects that have been and now are now frogged, this is a bit of a tale of woe, and this ball is looking very unhappy. So I'm sorry for my, I feel like this is like yarn treason to treat yarn like this. This has been knit several times into shawls, and it was held double in one of them, which is why this ball is such a mess, because I had to unravel that double strand into a single. This is Rivenet's BFL base. I think it's a 4-ply, and it's like, it's got squirrel in the name. It's got all sorts of colours. There are pinks, blues, greens, yellowier colours. It's a whole variety. There you go. But yeah, I loved this as a skein. I found it really difficult to love it in a project, and it's nothing against the yarn. It's me and my colour sense, and it's also the fact that, yeah, things look so different in a cake to how they do in a skein, and then they look different again when they're knit up, and I hadn't seen any samples. I love the BFL base, but I think this could look really good broken up as colour work in something, rather than having it blocked as just one colour. That's my thinking so far. Okay, we're down to our last two, guys, so we're almost there, I promise. Right, I never remember the name of the brand for this yarn. It's on my blog on episode 1. The show notes for episode 1, I think. But I know the name of I know the colourway. The colourway is Ripened Corn. I bought it from Beautiful Knitters. It's a yarn brand that's got like a sh at the beginning of the name, like an SCH. This is stunning. It's got silk in it as well as merino. It's a 4-ply, and it's got a range of colours that I'd never normally put together. It's got like purples and golds and yellows, but when knit up it looks this beautiful like antique gold. It's gorgeous. I'm currently knitting some of this into a colourwork yoke on another version of the Strange Brew sweater recipe from Tin Can Knits, along with some dark navy Holst yarn. But I've now completed the colourwork section, and I still have this left. I have not weighed it, but yes, oh, you can see the sheen on it. Ooh, it's gorgeous, so silky. Thoughts? And finally, and not massively dissimilar, you can tell I love my like gold and yellow colours, is this. This is from Usha Tita, and this was bought years ago by my mum to use in some weaving, and then she kind of adapted her weaving thinking around a selection of yarns, and she gifted this to me. I've used a bit of it in the yoke of another Strange Brew sweater that I showed again in my Everything I've Knit Sweaters video. It's the stone coloured one, Holst yarn, with the gold yoked pattern. But yeah, I reckon this feels about 30 to 40 grams left. And again, just beautiful. So that is all my kind of stash that I think is relevant to share. As I said, I've got lots of little nuggets of yarn left over from various projects. I've got some that have currently been used as scraps in a kind of scrappier project. So I'm not going to go through all of those. I kind of wanted to stick to the ones where I kind of know a useful amount of detail from them, so that if you're thinking up ideas, you've kind of got all the specs. Whereas like lots of my scraps, I don't have specs for. I love this bag from Beautiful Knitters. Maybe I should also do a video showing you some of the like knitting adjacent products that I love. But yes, I hope this was interesting. I hope as well when I come to do other videos, if I ever don't have a ball band on me and you need more specifics, then you can come back to this video and know a little bit more about the stash. I hope it's also giving you an idea of my aesthetic, what kind of yarns I like to buy. I think it's always really interesting seeing what people like to buy versus what they then like to knit, because actually sometimes they're totally different. And there's this whole vicarious knitting thing where shopping for yarn is this whole separate hobby, and it's like a way of engaging in knitting without knitting. So yes, I hope this was helpful. I will see you again very, very soon, and do let me know down in the comments any thoughts, any ideas, and whether this video was of use. Bye for now.